Ever since the excellent Resident Evil 4 remake came out last year, everyone's been creaming their crops just thinking about what could be next. Of course, everyone's very excited to see what Resident Evil 9 will be, the true next step, but everyone is really excited to see what game they will remake next. Capcom confirmed there will be another remake, though they did not clarify which game that would be, which leaves us to speculate. Right now, there are two games that fans have deemed most likely, that being Code Veronica and Resident Evil 5. Now, I'm going to give some quick thoughts on these, then I'm going to tell you which game I personally think should be remade, and why. That sound good? Cool. Now, as for a Resident Evil Code Veronica remake, yes, please, dear God. Resident Evil is always at its best when it's doing gothic horror, but Resident Evil doesn't know this, that's why it's always straying from gothic horror. Code Veronica is good gothic horror. Keep in mind, I haven't finished Code Veronica. I made it about halfway through, then I hit that boss fight on the plane, and man, you know how unfair these old games can be. But from the first half, I absolutely loved this game. It is dripping with atmosphere, so many dark hallways, the monsters, the mystery. What the hell happened here? Oh my god, it's the Black Lagoon twins and they're committing animal cruelty. There's also Steve.
Oh yeah, that felt good. Don't worry, Claire. Your knight in shining armor is here.
Steve does not need to be in the remake. But most importantly, Code Veronica is a slow burn horror. You'll spend most of your time creeping these empty hallways, solving puzzles, conserving ammo, and worrying about what might be around the corner. And that is peak Resident Evil. As much as I loved the RE4 remake, it was, like the game it's based on, action over horror. And that's fun. That is so much fun, but it doesn't tick that Resident Evil box for me. It doesn't scratch that survival horror itch I've had since I first entered this series. But a Code Veronica remake, done right, it'll scratch that itch. As for a Resident Evil 5 remake, well, that's an interesting one. I think you'll find most people don't really want an RE5 remake. It's just the logical next step. They remade 2, then 3, then 4, 5 just makes sense. The big argument is that it doesn't need a remake, which is true. It's easily accessible, a lot of fun, and still holds up pretty well, though people had the same thoughts about RE4 and that turned out great. I'm not too keen on the idea because you can't just remake 5. You have to reimagine 5, because 5 was the birth of a lot of the problems that ultimately killed the series. And if they don't make changes, the series will die again in the exact same way it did over 10 years ago. And I'm nervous because I'm not sure Capcom knows to make those changes. One of the things that really bothered me about the RE4 remake was how little they changed. It wasn't really a problem because the game they were copying was already fantastic, but if they keep that up, then that means they aren't going to change a game that is fundamentally flawed, and I really don't want that to happen. I don't know, I hope to be proven wrong. Okay, and now, I'd really like to tell you which game I think should be remade, and why I'm frankly disappointed more people aren't asking for it. 1. I think they should remake 1. Chris and Jill's harrowing night in the Spencer Mansion, rebuilt for a new generation. It's perfect. The slow burn gothic horror that defined a franchise. Give it the time and love that it deserves and you will have the best Resident Evil game. Now I know why people aren't really considering this, because RE1 has already been remade. And it's a good fucking remake. Widely agreed upon as the only video game remake that outshines the original in absolutely every aspect. And it still holds up. Kind of. I'll explain, but first let me tackle the issue of remaking a remake. In the remake conversation, a lot of people disregard this game because it's already been remade. But here's the thing. The remake is really old. 2002. That's when this remake came out, only 6 years after the original. Yeah, it holds up remarkably well. It looks fantastic for a game its age. But the issue I'm about to talk about is only there because the game is really old. For reference, Resident Evil 4, a masterpiece that shaped the gaming landscape into what it is today and has already been remade, came out in 2005, over 2 years after the remake. I know people don't like it, but this game is absolutely old enough to justify a remake, and if the concept of remaking a game that's already been remade bothers you, I don't know man, get used to it. At this rate, The Last of Us is getting remade at least 2 more times. Okay, so what is the problem? What is the flaw that holds this fantastic game back? Accessibility. Remake looks absolutely incredible for a game from 2002, but that came at a cost. There is no 3D environment, all you have is character models walking in front of spooky backdrops. And to do this, the game utilizes the incredibly rare second-person camera technique. You view the game through these preset static cameras looking in on the character. All the early Resident Evil titles use this technique, and it's surprisingly effective. I like Remake. I've played it a couple of times now, it's a really good game. It was recently remastered so you can get it on the modern hardware, but that camera, holds it back. It always feels like a buffer on the experience. You'll frequently get attacked by enemies that are out of frame, you can't actually see things from the character's perspective, so immersion be damned, and worst of all, you can't actually aim your gun. You just have to hold the aim button and hope your character will hit their shots, which combined with the previous issues means you're often shooting at an enemy you can't even see. So you'll always end up firing a shot more than you need to before you realize the enemy is dead, which in a survival horror game, all about immersion and making your resources count, is really annoying and just reminds you that you are playing a game. Now the game is fantastic in spite of this, but the janky camera system still acts as a barrier to new players. During this Resident Evil resurgence we've been seeing, a lot of new fans have entered into the series. I'm one of them. My first RE game was the RE2 Remake, and I love that game. I easily put what must have been 100 hours into it, and I can confidently say I would put 100 hours into RE1 if it played like RE2. A third-person, over-the-shoulder, free-aim shooter. Remember when they made DLC for Village and it gave you the option to play the game in third person? That was a bizarre addition for a game that was very clearly designed to be played in first person, but we all know why they did it, because that's how these games play now. They are third-person shooters. That's what people expect from them. That's what people want to see. And that's what RE1 needs. I know there are a lot of people that won't even play RE1 because of the camera system. Remake it, give it the RE2 treatment, open it up to this new generation of fans, because as much as I like this game, it feels like its true potential is locked behind this archaic camera system, and I think that's a shame. Okay. Thank you for listening to me ramble about Resident Evil remakes. I really hope they do remake one, and if they do, they should call it Resident Evil 1. Because then you can line them up on your shelf, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. I think that would be cool. If you like this, then consider sticking around, because I've got another nice big Resident Evil video I'm going to release shortly after this one, no longer than like 2 weeks, I don't know. And I've already got 2 other Resident Evil videos. I haven't seen either in over a year, so I can't really speak to their quality. I don't know, they can't have aged that poorly, surely. Alright, bye.